Well, hello and welcome to episode 162 of the Childless Not by Choice podcast. My name is Civilla Morgan. My mission is to recognize and speak to the childless not by choice women and men around the world, reminding us that we can live joyful, relevant, fulfilled, childless not by choice lives. And whether you have children or not, thank you for tuning in. It is always appreciated. So once again, this is episode 162, number 162. This is a special live recording, and I am so excited for you to hear it. As soon as I heard it was happening, I became excited because the issues surrounding healthcare and people of color is something that has been on my mind for quite some time. I mean, quite some time as in years, since my hysterectomy back in 2011. I will be talking more about my personal experiences next episode, as well as things we can do, no matter our race or gender, to give us a better chance at proper care when interacting with the medical community. I would like to thank Mrs. LaShonda Royal, Chapter President, Ms. Anna DeVol Hornbuckle, Public Relations, and all the ladies of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, Inc. for allowing me to attend this meeting. And by the way, this was a meeting that was open to the public. Please note, some content in this episode is geared towards women who have children. Please also note that any audience member names mentioned have been removed. The names of the panel members have not. Lastly, names of medications that were mentioned have been removed as well. I do not want to wrangle or tangle with any medication manufacturers, so I had those removed as well. I am working on, as I mentioned earlier, episode 163. That's going to be a more personalized episode based on my experiences in the healthcare world, dealing with me personally and, as a caregiver to both of my parents. And as I said, just talking about how we can, no matter what, we have to advocate for ourselves and those who we're caring for. And I'm going to give you some tips and pointers on things I did for the 9 years I actively cared for my parents and caring for myself. And a lot of it will pertain to the childless not by choice community, I'm sure. At any rate, thank you again for tuning into episode 162. I will talk to you again soon when it's time for episode 163. Of course, any information you need is in the show notes, including my contact information. It's all in the show notes. Feel free to reach out and give me 24 to 48 hours to respond. Thanks again. Bye.
6 hours before they sent her home. So her pain was dismissed. And about a month after that, she ended up having a silent heart attack. So after she had this heart attack, we returned to the hospital maybe about 2 weeks afterwards. And she was having the same pains again. They ordered some tests for her. They said, "Oh, your tests are fine. There's nothing wrong." And they wanted to send her home. I had to advocate for my mom to say, no, she needs additional testing. She just had a heart attack and you're trying to send her home. She's having the same pains again. We ended up having her admitted to the hospital, even though she did not want to stay there, because we all know our moms, they're a little stubborn sometimes. They don't want to listen. But with that, she did receive the care and testing that she needed. So that was part of my vision for my chapter and my committee planning this event. We want to highlight and showcase, we say things to our doctors and we do not get listened to. And in turn, a lot of times we end up with illnesses that we didn't even know we had because they go undiagnosed. And sometimes that also ends in death, unfortunately.
So I'm now going to pass this to Tiffany Jeffers, who is the CEO, founder of our partner organization for this event, the Black Engagement Community Council. And she's also the community pastor of Solid Rock, for opening remarks.
Good evening, ladies. It's such an honor to be here before you to help and partner in this event. That is such a topic that I believe can touch or has touched each and every one of us in the room. The Black Empowerment and Community Council is here to present and partner with organizations to bring events just like this to our community. It's so important that we galvanize our community around initiatives that discuss the disparities in our communities to ensure that we have initiatives that are the answer to these types of disparities that we experience in our Black and Brown community. I hope that you will take this information, really digest it, and then also send it back out to your friends and family so that we can make our community aware that these type of initiatives exist in our community and that there are places where we can come together safely to discuss issues that are close to our community and our hearts. At the end of this event, there will be a QR code on the screen. And the QR code is to ask you to complete a survey. And I know a lot of people don't like a survey, but surveys help us with data. And the BECC is run on data. And why do we run on data? It's because people listen to data. You can construe whatever is being said, but you cannot misconstrue data. And so what we want to do at the end of this event is get a quick synopsis of how you felt, what you think we can do to make our community better. And then we're going to take that information to our electeds and hold them accountable to making sure that they create initiatives that will address the disparities in our community. So I invite you to do that at the end of this seminar. Welcome to Solid Rock Community Church. We want you to be welcome. Thank you guys for attending, and we hope that you have an incredible experience here.
Okay, so now I have the honor of introducing our co-moderators for this event. We have Siobhan Carter and Alicia Taylor. So Siobhan Carter is the president and CEO of 26 Health and has been in the healthcare and nonprofit space for more than 20 years. She has been instrumental in the strategic transformation of the organization to broaden its services to Central Florida and beyond. With an extensive background in executive leadership and vast experience as a healthcare administrator, she has helped shape the direction of various nonprofits throughout her career and has committed herself to the heartfelt mission of improving health equity across the country, particularly in underserved communities. As a transformative change agent, she has also shaped operational strategies and built life-changing resources. Siobhan studied organizational leadership at Marquette University and healthcare administration at Concordia University. So welcome, Siobhan. And we also have Alicia Taylor. Alicia Taylor became a fall 2019 initiate of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated at the University of Central Florida through the sophisticated Sigma Epsilon chapter. Graduating with a degree in integrated business with a certificate in victim advocacy, Alicia utilized her skill set and passion for finance to work for a Fortune 500 brokerage firm here in Orlando. Wanting to pursue higher education, she is currently enrolled in the Nonprofit Management Graduate Program at UCF and is expected to graduate this December, where she later hopes to launch her startup organization within the next year. Outside of work and school, Alicia enjoys going to the gym, cooking, spending time with her friends and family, but most of all, being an active member of her graduate chapter, Epsilon Zeta, where she currently serves as the domestic violence coordinator. So I'll now pass it on to our wonderful co-moderators for this panel.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. So now we're going to go ahead and introduce our lovely panelists here this evening. So our first panelist is Dr. Marie Jose Francois. Immigrated to the United States from Haiti in January 1983. She received her undergraduate degree from College Classique Port-au-Prince, Haiti. She also received her medical degree in 1982 from the University of Medicine, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and her master's degree in public health with a concentration in health promotion and education from Loma Linda University, California in 1996. Trained in medicine and public health, Dr. Marie Jose Francois approaches community health issues from both clinical and population health perspectives. She also made that disclaimer, I am a non-practicing physician. Primary prevention is my priority. This approach is especially significant from understanding and addressing health disparities in medically underdeserved communities in which she works. Because of Dr. Francois' community experience and understanding of health disparities in Haitians and other immigrant families, she conceived the idea of an organization dedicated to addressing health inequalities in medically underdeserved communities of all ethnic backgrounds. As a result, The Center for Multicultural Wellness and Prevention, a community-based nonprofit and non-clinical setting organization in Orlando, Florida, was established in July 1995. The mission of CMWP is to enhance the quality of life for diverse populations through the provision of health promotion services. Since its founding, Dr. Francois has developed a passionate and dedicated multilingual team to conduct health education and outreach to economically marginalized populations in Lake, Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties. In addition, Dr. Francois has been diligent in marshaling efforts for the annual Caribbean Health Summit in Orlando since 2003. This annual event has attracted thousands of participants from a diverse population from as far as north as Ocala and as far as south as Miami, Florida. Over the years, this annual event has provided free health screenings to more than 25,000 uninsured and underinsured individuals. Through her passion for serving the community, Dr. Francois has forged strong community partnerships with key stakeholders in order to address important health issues. She also has established a leadership team that carry out her values and visions of the organization, where they envision a Central Florida without health disparities and 100% access to social and healthcare services for all Floridians. Let's welcome Dr. Francois. Our next panelist, we have Ms. Janola Morales. Ms. Janola Morales is a doctoral candidate interested in decolonial and anti-oppressive frameworks in mental health practices within the Black community. Her dissertation is on mental health and the Black church. She has recently defended her dissertation on March 25th, 2020. She has been an ordained and licensed clergy for over 30 years. Janola Morales is passionate about empowering and strengthening the quality of life and well-being of individuals, groups, and communities. She pursued a bachelor's in liberal arts from Mount Ida. She has a master's in social work from Fordham University and is enrolled in Simmons University's doctoral program. She is also studying social work. Her doctoral and social work requirements will be completed in April 2024. Fueled by a passion for life coaching and spiritual renewal, Janola merges her education and expertise through counseling, coaching, and spirituality teachings to bring practical relevance to engaging others in pursuing a life of success, healing, character, strengthening, and transformation. Her expertise also includes family restoration, marriage counseling, and personal development. She has worked with children and families in crisis for over 35 years. Janola has helped countless individuals in diverse communities to excel in dimension of purpose and potential. Janola utilizes her personal story of challenges to triumph and inspire hope in the lives of others through ethnographic interviewing and spiritual empowerment seminars. God has granted her favor within different organizations. She has worked for over 40 years in social service positions. She is the chief of staff for Osceola Council on Aging, the most significant social services organization in Osceola County, Florida. Janola is married to Napoleon Morales and has one daughter, Naya Morales. Let's welcome Ms. Joanna Morales. And now we're on to our final panelist, Dr. Charity Johnson-Gale. Dr. Charity Johnson-Gale is originally from Tennessee and has been practicing as an OBGYN in Orlando for nearly a decade. She completed her residency at Meharry Medical College, one of only 3 historically Black medical schools in the United States. Dr. Johnson is very passionate about providing top-notch, patient-centered care to all women. As a wife and mother herself, she advocates for women to maintain excellent self-care. She firmly believes that women who prioritize their own health are able to manage the health of their families. Let's welcome Dr. Charity Johnson-Gale. Alrighty, and before we go ahead and get started with our questions to our lovely panelists, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge our president of Epsilon Theta, Ms. LaShonda Royal. Alrighty, so let's go ahead. We want to see what we have planned here tonight. So Siobhan, do you want to take it away with the first question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So our first question is, what do you think causes disparities in healthcare for women of color? So I wondered if we could start with Dr. Johnson and then move our way back to Swab.
Right. So the question was, what do we think causes disparities?
Correct.
That is not well understood. So the short answer is we don't know. But what we do know is that Black women, well, for me, it's women because I see women, but Black patients, be it in the NICU, in the pediatric population, males and females, in the aged population, the elderly, it's across the board. We don't get the same quality of healthcare. We don't have the same outcomes when it comes to mortality. When we have a similar disease, such as heart disease or diabetes, we tend to have worse outcomes and we tend to die more often from those things than another person with very similar background. And when it comes to women and childbirth and those outcomes, even when you account for socioeconomic differences, insurance coverage, so private versus Medicaid, Medicare, even when you accommodate for education and you count for all those things, we're still treated worse than our counterparts of other races. And it's not well understood because it's not that, if you poll the doctors, they're not racist by and large. They're not mean. They feel like they're providing quality care to all patients, but the numbers just don't bear that out.
I agree with everything you say. What I would like to add, go back to slavery. Black women, most of the time, we put ourselves last. As an immigrant woman, I'm telling you, healthcare is totally different where I came from. Where I came from is not the best, but there is something very important, the human part of it. I know you're OBGYN. My past life, community health centers, I did women's health. We don't take time to listen. We do not take time to listen. Somebody just gave a story. When someone comes, you say you have pain. It's nothing tactile enough. No. And I'm happy you're an advocate for your mom. We need to have a health advocate. We are talking about health disparities, inequality. We need to speak up. We need to speak up. I will wait. I will wait. That's very important to understand that. Health, inequality, disparities, I don't see it like this. I'm looking at health as an equilibrium between mental, spiritual, and physical. So that's it. I need to be holy enough to talk to whoever I'm talking to. I need to speak up. I am the one in charge, not the doctor. I am the one in charge. So you need to listen to me. So we put ourselves in second place instead of putting ourselves first.
Wow.
So health disparities, inequality, everything is there. But we need to speak up as Black people, men or women.
Doing my dissertation is strictly on critical race theory and racism. So we know the fact that our race is endemic and it was created. So one of the things when we look at the research, it talks about that they felt that during slavery times that Blacks' bodies can endure more pain than white bodies. Even doing some of the research I was just doing for school right now, in 2020, there were still medical students who still were ascribing to those theories that were in the medical books. So again, coupling with what you two said, that we deal with racism and we walk in and we're already being looked at one way, but then we don't advocate for ourselves because we feel less than as well. But it all stems from what is in some medical books with some doctors in terms of that our bodies can endure more pain. And we do know, again, racism in some of our neighborhoods, we don't have the proper care. We don't have the same kind of quality of healthcare that everybody else does. So disparities do come with racism.
So if I may follow up to that. So Dr. Francois, you were talking about whole health, which was a concept that was being introduced many years ago. And I think some of the difficulty with rolling out such a concept was that it was very expensive and very labor intensive and took a lot of individuals. And so I wondered if you could share your perspective on when you talk about advocating for ourselves. Can you share more about what you mean by holistic care and how you go about advocating for yourself?
There is a lot for that book. I believe in prevention. I studied medicine in Haiti. I did my internship. I learned about medicine when I did my master's degree in public health. In the US, medicine, money, treatment.
Yeah.
Prevention is not there. So this is why my main focus is prevention. So this is why the more you know what's wrong with you, the better you can manage. And I'm happy you are doing mental health. It's a piece very important in anybody's life. Mental, it's not I'm crazy, cuckoo or loca. No. Mental health is part of us. Okay? That holistic approach. If I'm depressed, I'm sad, That's okay for me to go in the bathroom in my house, yell, cry. That's okay to do that. Because as you know, mental health can cause other diseases. That's why we have all of the disparities. We are keeping everything inside. Heart disease, stroke, diabetes, and all of that. Holistic approach. You need to believe about, I like to talk about family planning. Before you think about having women of childbearing age, before you think getting a baby, prevention first. Financial.
Mm-hmm.
Who to choose?
Mm-hmm.
Who to choose for your care?
One more time.
No, who to choose? Based on your medical condition. That's right.
Yes.
Because we do have some sickness, some chronic metabolism. I don't want to talk about medicine stuff, but we have some chronic condition. Women of childbearing age. You can have lupus. You can have HIV. You can have cancer, diabetes, blood pressure. You need to have a doctor who understands those conditions to deal with you during that pregnancy. You need to know. So do your research. That's okay to go and have second opinion. That's right. Believe me, I go to you, I'm not satisfied, I will go. Understand the value of whatever you have, Medicare, Medicaid, health insurance, understand the value of that. Ask questions. You have the power. Because as you know, if you don't give that good outcome, Medicare, Medicaid will take the money. Okay? Holistic approach. Prevention. When we go to the doctor, it's not because I'm married, I have children. I need to ask that doctor to do such tests for me. I need to be proactive. That's okay to ask for an STD test, married or not. We never know. I'm here. He's at home. Is he at home? We need to be realistic. Okay? I need to ask the doctor, based on my age, when can I have my mammogram? Oh, I have my mom, I have my sister, I have an aunt, I have a grandmother, they have breast cancer. And I'm 25, 30, and not me. Okay, so I need to talk to somebody who understand where I'm coming from. Yeah. So this is why it's important to know about your own medical history. And sometimes I'm saying we hide our family history from our children.
Yeah.
I feel like Dr. Johnson wants to add to that. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that you ask patients and how you break down some of those stigmas when they're wanting to share?
The first thing that any healthcare provider, be it a nurse, a doctor, you have to be able to connect with your patients on a personal level and convince them that you care. And you have to actually care in real life. And so for you guys as patients, if you go to a doctor and you don't, well, first of all, choose someone who you have a personal connection with and someone who you feel like cares about you, because there's no more helpless feeling than, like she's talked about, with being her mother in the ER and she feels like her mother's having a potential life-threatening episode and no one cares and no one's listening. I've been there with separate situation, and it feels helpless. And so if you feel like somebody on the other side of this interaction cares about you and can help you navigate it, that's the person who you want. You want the person who's going to actually, do the work to make sure that you get the medication that you need, who's going to do the, what do you call the thing? When you have to do an extra something. No, it's extra something. When you have a medicine that's not covered, they have to fill out a special form and get prior authorization. Yeah. No, but it's like a prior authorization. But the point is, you want someone who's going to go the extra mile to get you the care that you need. If you need a consultation, if you need a psych consultation in the patient, you can't just say, oh, find a therapist. No, you want a doctor who's going to tell you, here's a list of therapists. So here's 3 therapists that I recommend who my patients have been pleased with. Here is their office information. But you just set a patient free with the internet and insurance card and say, oh, go find help. That's not good enough. Yeah. And if you're not getting the results that you need and you're not getting the care that you need, then leave, because your money is the deciding factor. This is America. In America, it's sad, but in America, money changes things. Yes. So if you have a group of patients and they all decide to leave, Dr. X and go across town, then Dr. X is going to be like, oh man, why are my patients leaving? If I'm not making the same amount of money per month, per year, per quarter, it's affecting my bottom line. I'm doing something wrong. And that's what's going to cause change in behavior. And also in the United States, if you don't have insurance and, you don't have adequate coverage, they will let you die. That's just and it sounds mean, but it's the truth. I've seen it. I've seen patients get, discharged and get poor care. And they say, oh, well, we told them to follow up, knowing that they have nowhere to follow up with and knowing that the reasonable outcome is that the person is likely not going to survive that episode. But anyway, so these are the things I have in my paper. So let me stay focused. So first, like she said, you want to advocate for yourself and your family, just like this young lady was telling us, because when we're in a situation and we feel like someone isn't listening to us, you want to say, well, I want to be polite. I want to not make a scene. I don't want to be the angry Black woman, but sometimes you might have to be the angry Black woman because if your life is on the line, sometimes being polite has to take a back seat. Wow. You have to get the results that you need for your family. And you would hate to have lose a family member, lose a child because you didn't speak up, because you didn't ask questions. So it's literally your life on the line, or your family's life on the line, and you have to speak up. So that's one thing. I also said, like I said, find the doctor who cares about you. And also, like she also mentioned, get a second opinion. If you don't feel like this doctor is answering your questions adequately, if you don't understand why you're on this medication, if you don't like the way the medication is working, it may lower your blood pressure, but maybe it gives you some other side effect that you don't like. You have the right to say, I'm not comfortable with this medication. What are alternatives? I don't like the way this medication makes me feel. That matters, because in the past, it was a more paternalistic situation where doctors were saying, I'm the doctor, you're the patient, you do what I say, you take this medication. Now it's a group effort. It's a, multidisciplinary, and the patient and the doctor are a team, and no one voice is louder than the other. You all have to be able to work together. And so we have to get used to speaking up for ourselves and demanding the care that we need. But also, if you're not able to forge that relationship with the doctor, find a different doctor. And even something as simple as my husband. So my husband has high blood pressure. And this year he went to the doctor and his high cholesterol. This year he went to the doctor and his cholesterol numbers, I looked at him last year, no change. He's been on the same medication. The doctor never went up on his dose, never changed him to a different medication. And he has a family history of heart disease. I'm like, you're not going back to the doctor. We're going to find you a different doctor who's going to, follow you, because he keeps saying, oh, you're young and you're thin and you're healthy. Stay on your medication, but it's not working. His numbers are still high, and I need my husband. I don't want him to have a heart attack because his doctor was being polite. I don't care that the man is polite. He's a very nice man, but that doesn't help me. I need my husband here and alive, and so I want him to get the best care. So we're going to find a different doctor, even though we really like that man.
There is a big turning point in medicine in the US. Mm-hmm. Where I came from, I don't have a communication with me. I'm sitting, talking to you, asking you a question, taking your medical history. Here, clinical is a disaster. Mm-hmm. You're talking to the patient, it's computer, no eye contact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Number two, your pharmacist is your best friend. That's right. Try to have only one pharmacy. Mm-hmm. Any doubt, any side effects, whatever that medication, they will be the one helping you. They will be the one calling the doctor. And also, before you go to the doctor, remember, you're the one in charge. I ask you to take the first appointment or the last appointment. First or last. Write all of your questions ahead of time. It will be part of your medical record. No questions are stupid. Any doubt, ask question. And also, ask for a copy of your lab. Whatever lab you have done, the week before you came for follow-up lab, ask them for a copy of those labs. Ask question. Okay, if my hemoglobin A1C, you did that. I don't talk about anything medical, but anybody with diabetes, you have hemoglobin A1C, they will check that for you. Now, it was 7.8, 2 months or 3 or 2 years ago. Now it's 10. So something is wrong. So that's means whatever you're taking is not working. So that's why you need to discussion with your doctor about this is what good for me. And right now, so many stuff regarding diabetes and all of that, those medications you can take to decrease or for you to lose weight. And then you have a lot of side effects, giving you some mental issue, anxiety.
Oh, so I think we've heard so many wonderful examples of how we can advocate for ourselves. And one of the things we like to do is turn to the audience, because we hear support with a lot of the answers that are being given, but we want to give you a chance to ask a question that you may have. So is there anyone that has a question that you'd like to pose to the panelists? Oh, I see a hand right there behind you.
So one of the questions I want to ask is the mental or the mindset of a patient coming in, understanding that they don't know what they don't know. And how do you start asking those questions? Because it's kind of difficult to say, This person got a degree. They're a doctor. They know better. So are we so suddenly to discount what they're saying? And that's what I'm saying. There's a little balance I don't think that we can find to say, what is it? What should I question? My father went in, the doctor says, we did your scan, you have prostate cancer. Your options are A and B. Okay. Well, how do we approach what we don't know?
Good question, Dr. Francois.
The first person you see, not the doctor, the nurse. Believe me, talk to the nurse. She has to document everything you're saying. And he or she will go and read the notes. The nurse, whoever is seeing you first, will be the one to say what's going on with you. Okay. Now, when you sit down with the doctor, it's when you ask questions. Do your homework. If somebody, a man, you have prostate cancer, a woman, you have breast cancer, do your homework. Those are the questions I'm going to ask. So that's when you need to empower yourself before you go to the doctor.
Ms. Morales, would you like to add to that?
So also mentally, I think sometimes, especially as women, we also have to have a co-partner. So sometimes we do feel frightened going in, and we may know what we want to ask, but the fear overtakes us. We are human. And so at that point, if you have a friend or you have somebody that you could take with you who is bold, who's going to make sure that they're going to ask all the questions for you, then that's what you can do. Because sometimes we feel that, again, like you said, this person has a degree. But just like we do with all other things, you take an advocate with you and you talk to yourself, this is my body. I love my body and I'd like to be here. As she said, she wants her husband. So you got to give yourself a mental preparation as well. I may be fearful, but I need to have a conversation with this individual about what they're giving me and why they're giving it to me. Even as a social worker, as a clinician, when they found a lump one time, and this was the head of the hospital, he's telling me to take the 5-year trial. I said, what are the side effects, sir? He said, well, after we did your biopsy, we don't see anything. No, what's the side effects of the 5-year trial? You may get uterus cancer. So I don't have breast cancer, but you want to give me uterus cancer. No, thank you. Now, this was a white man, the head of the doc. So he's looking at me like, are you debating with me? And I said, at the end of the day, yes, because this is my body and I don't have this, what you said. So there comes a point where she said, we have to speak up. And you can't be frightened of speaking up. But if you are, because some of us do have fears, some of us do have anxieties, some of us is told not to talk back, all those things of our childhood sometimes comes up when we're standing in front of somebody. You take somebody bold like this one with you. Or you find somebody in the medical field already to say, hey, this is my issues. Can you advise me of what I'm supposed to be going in there and saying? Sisters, don't be frightened to talk to each other because somebody next to you is going through what you're going through.
So I'm hearing that you said take him.
Here's a question. I would like to add something. You need to know who to bring with you. Mm-hmm. No. Somebody who doesn't go outside and talk about your business.
That's right.
Being in HIV/AIDS, okay? Because sometimes a man or a woman, they don't feel comfortable to disclose their HIV status to anyone. So now they think, oh, you're my best friend, but you don't know what's going on with me. And you go with me. So this is why doctors, they will not, those I know, they will not talk without asking you, is it okay? Is it okay for you to talk about it?
Yeah.
And sometimes even a family member, it's not a good choice for you to bring with you at the doctor office. Because sometimes you do not feel comfortable about what you have. You're trying to, do the stages of change. Yes. You're trying to say, okay, this will have breast cancer. Let me understand what's taking place. My best friend went outside and said to everybody, I have breast cancer. So we need to know who to bring with you, who to disclose whatever sickness you have.
So I have a question that I wanted to ask on behalf of myself and probably from everyone in the audience. Is there an importance into finding a doctor who is a person of color at this rate in this society? Does it really make a difference now with the lack of attention that women of color face? Anything like that? Any advice that you do have for finding a doctor in this era?
So, so it would be wonderful if there were enough Black doctors to take care of all the patients who look like us, but there simply is not enough. So that would be a good starting point to try to find a doctor. Like I said, someone who looks like you is a good place to start, but we're not all perfect. People are people and people are flawed. So there may be, there are good Black doctors and there are poor performing Black doctors. There are insensitive ones and compassionate ones. People are people. But that's the importance of when you go into like established care or for an annual visit, if you have a list and you're like, okay, you want to talk about your shoulder discomfort, your irregular menstrual cycle, you want to talk about fertility testing, and doctor says, oh, no, I'm just going to just do your exam. We can come back later. We'll talk about that later. Or, well, you should go see Dr. So-and-so about that. That's somebody who doesn't care about you because you have just told this person, I am concerned about X, Y, and Z. And they did not stop to address any of your concerns. They didn't stop to explain anything or educate anything. And that's not a doctor who's going to be able to walk this process with you. So that's when you know you need to get somebody else. And so it's not a matter of knowing, going on Google and understanding all the background medical stuff. You can tell if someone cares about you. You can tell if someone is willing to take time out of their day, like they're supposed to, with what they're paid to do, to listen to you and to give you, appropriate feedback. And because when I was in private practice, my patients would be there forever. And I was like, why do I keep getting all these patients who are long-winded with all these 12 things? And they were like, well, they didn't want to see Dr. So-and-so because Dr. So-and-so didn't listen. And I'm like, that's not fair to me. But I understood all the schedulers to put these people on my schedule. And I'm like, I'm here until 6 o'clock every day. And Dr. So-and-so leaving at 3. But it's because Dr. So-and-so sees the patient, new, returning, whatever, every 10 minutes. And you're going to get your pap smear and you're going to get your vaccinations so we can bill for them. And you're going to go away. And if you're bleeding, you come back and see Dr. So-and-so. If you want birth control, you come back and see Dr. So-and-so. If you're concerned about sexual satisfaction, you're going to come back and see Dr. So-and-so because this person is going to see you in 10 minutes. They're going to bill for it and they're going to walk away. And that's simply, in today's world, that's just not good enough. And we cannot accept that. As patients, we can't accept that. And don't let people do that to you. And you keep returning with your medical dollars.
That's right. So, Mr. Rice, I wonder, please, if you could talk a little bit about cultural competency and cultural humility, because as Dr. Johnson highlighted, there is, at least as we see, about 6% of Black Americans that find themselves in the healthcare field, specifically becoming physicians. But there's an understanding about the importance of cultural competency and cultural humility so that if individuals don't look like you, they still understand some of your journey. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So that's a big thing in terms of people having cultural humility and understanding to bring someone's culture into the room because that affects you. That is that holistic approach she's talking about. That is you. That is all of you. And again, most doctors, unfortunately, or social workers or anyone else does not have that cultural humility because it's not being taught. As we're in Florida and they're moving DEI, how are we supposed to learn diversity, equity, and inclusion? How am I supposed to bring your culture into the room? Do I understand that you come from another country and that the way you practice your health is different? Do I understand that the difference between where you live and where I live, if I'm telling you to go on a diet or I'm telling you you need to change the way you eat with my economical status, how is that I'm supposed to make good food living in a bad neighborhood? So, I've come across a couple of nutritionists who kind of understand that and a couple of doctors, but if they don't understand that my check doesn't go very far and you're telling me to go and I need to get fruits and vegetables and I need to get these organic foods, but when I go into the grocery store, the organic foods are about $15, $20 and my check is not going to make that. That doesn't make sense. So you need to understand the person who's sitting in your room and understand them totally. So it is something that, we have to look at in any profession, that we have to understand cultural humility and who is the person sitting there that I'm talking to. So if it's that 10-minute doctor, 10-minute social worker, that's not the person because they're not looking at your totality. They're not looking at your whole scope. And it is something that we must really look at in society because as we are definitely coming from different backgrounds, even as people of color. We come from the Caribbean. We come from Spanish countries. So even if I went to a person of color, they may not understand my Caribbean background. So you telling me to change my diet. So you telling me I can't have no curry goat and no rice and peas. And so you're telling me to get rid of my spices. So what you telling me to do? So you need to understand clearly who you're talking to and really understand the person that's sitting in the seat before you. So a lot of all professions, I won't just say doctors, all professions need to really start to understand their clients or their patients sitting in front of them.
So we have that before attitude. Because it's a question of black and white. It's the way we are treating each other. For me, medicine is a ministry. When I look at doctors, black doctors or Hispanic doctors, white doctors, defend your king and your queen. That's why the patient will not talk, because if I'm seeing you putting your nose like this on me, how can I trust you? Yes, we need more black doctors. But we need more human beings.
Right. That's true.
People with humility. He was very humble. I'm not going to preach, but humility, this is putting yourself at the level who you're talking to. In Haiti, when I am at the hospital, I have only my stethoscope. I don't wear any blouse. And I go to the bed and talk to them and say, come in with me. You have to see that. It's an open door for them to tell you what's going on. And I'm sure in medicine in the US, School of Medicine, they are trying to include that. I don't want to say too much, but this is, they are compassion. We put the oath to hear, but sometimes by our look or the way we are treating patients, we are killing them. And we are living in an area, thank you, Lord, I am not doing anything right now, but I can talk. Okay, my point is we need good advocates. We need, when something went wrong to that visit, don't be afraid to talk to somebody higher up at that hospital. Make your concern. I went to that emergency room. I wait 10 hours before being seen. I went to the clinic. My appointment was at 9:30. They saw me at noon. Nobody came to say, we are behind. Just basic etiquette. So if you're not satisfied, that's okay for you to say it. Do not keep nothing inside. We are our own advocate. We are our own self-manager. Yes, the doctor, we are there to guide you, but we are the ones to make the decision.
So I want to throw it back out to the audience again, because I love it. I see 3 hands. So Ken, so here, please.
Good evening again, everyone. I just kind of have a comment to add, going back to speaking about in this day and age, looking for doctors that look like us. So I unfortunately did not have a good experience looking for a doctor who looked like myself. And I went to this man's office. I said, I have been having severe back pain since middle school. I'm 32. So that was a very long time ago. And he said, oh, you need to lose weight. If I've told you I've been having severe back pain to the point I can barely walk, and you're telling me, oh, you need to lose weight, you're not listening. So I went and I found another doctor. I go to this doctor. I told him the same thing. At this point, when I saw this doctor, I had lost over 80 pounds. So I've gone to him. I said, hey, I saw the doctor. They told me I need to lose weight. I lost weight, but I woke up yesterday and I can barely walk. He says, don't worry, we're going to order you an x-ray. We're going to order you these additional tests. I want you to try this treatment. That's what the first doctor should have done, by actually listening to me. So I have a hard time speaking up for myself. So for me to say I'm not going back to this doctor because he didn't listen to me, that was a big thing for me, especially when that was the first doctor I saw in Orlando. Like, I didn't have anyone to go to say which, who do you go to, who's your PC. Like, I didn't have anyone. So I had to, like you said, get online, look who accept my insurance and go somewhere. So having that experience has kind of made me leery of looking for doctors of color. But if anybody know a good primary care physician, I'm looking at you.
I'm really glad that you had the courage and the strength to leave and find a better doctor. So I'm very proud of you for that.
Thank you. That's right.
Yes. All right. I see this hand here, and then we'll come to the moment.
Hi, everybody. My name is Civilla. I am recording because I do podcast, and I got permission from Ms. Royal. I just want to really, because I say this on my podcast quite a bit. I've been podcasting for almost 9 years, and I always say, get a second opinion. Don't let your doctor bully you. Don't let them make you feel guilty or feel bad about getting a second opinion. Get a second opinion. And I think we all know about that young lady who just passed, the 36-year-old young lady, because she was misdiagnosed. And so that breaks my heart. I don't even know her, but it broke my heart. So please get a second opinion. And the other thing is, I just came off of a 9-year stint of caring for my parents. My dad just passed in September. And the one thing I will tell you is advocate. Advocate, advocate, advocate. If you need somebody to come with you, like the ladies are saying here, bring somebody with you who can speak, because they knew when they saw me coming down the hallway, that everything had better be okay in that room or we were going to have problems. And I have actually kicked doctors out of rooms. So I don't have a problem. So please, I know that we all have different personalities, and I know I'm sitting here and I'm quiet and I don't have much to say, but don't poke the bear. And so I just want to say, if you cannot advocate for yourself, yes, have somebody that you can trust, that you can bring with you and advocate for yourself. If you don't have anybody, this young lady just said it was out of her comfort zone, but it's her health. It's your body. My dad always used to say, you only have one body. It's your body. So what are you going to do about it? So I just wanted to just really say that everything that you're saying is just really on point, and I'm looking forward to getting this episode edited and just really getting the word out to people around the world, because I speak to women who never got to have children. And so I speak to women globally. They're reaching out to me globally all the time about this podcast. And I am so happy to be here because I really was going to talk about this next. I just talked about IVF in Alabama. So, it is what it is. Anyway, I just wanted to say, please be an advocate for yourself.
I just want to address what she said. So, as a therapist and coming from mental health, when you won't speak up, it's because somebody usually told you as a child, stay quiet. And you often hear those voices when we go into certain rooms where the power differential is different. And the person in front of you will then become the person who told you not to speak up. So those are the things that we need to deal with. We're not little kids anymore. We don't have that older person telling the little child, you can't say anything, be quiet, listen, stay still. And most of us, some of our mothers had those eyes where they just shot you a look and you sat back. So those are the things that sometimes we work through in the therapy room. What I used to do with some of the ladies in my older church was this, with their permission, like she said, you got to make sure you're taking the right person. I became their advocate. And I went into the rooms with them sometimes just to have those conversations, because as social workers, that's what we do. We go in the room and we make sure we advocate. We become your ally. We become your voice until you can get your voice. So don't be afraid of a social worker as well. Again, the right social worker, because at the end of the day, I know we think about it as, I'm not going to a therapist. That made me think that I'm crazy or something like that. The stigma of therapy. But if you need to get your voice, then you need to get into a therapy room so you can find your voice, so you can advocate for yourself appropriately.
Well said.
All righty. So y'all have to indulge me for just a little bit. I had a couple of statements, but then I also wanted to share something with you that I hope will. In one of the hats that I wear, I lead the children's cabinet, and we meet and they give us information. So I wanted to share something with you. Number one, in terms of mental health, I don't know if you know it or not, but the Mental Health Association, they give free mental health services, and they do not care about the time frame. So if you live in Orange County, for example, Mayor Devings, he offers and I'm saying he like he's over there doing it, but through Orange County, they give free mental health services. They do it though up to 13 weeks. However, Mental Health Association will do it on a continuum. So maybe somebody that can take advantage of it. And then the other thing that I was listening to when it came to the insurance, I learned from dealing with my dad and my mom. They both have cancer. My dad passed already in cancer. My mother is in stage 4 uterine cancer. What I learned is that you can't allow the insurance to be the thing that keeps you from good care. Don't let the insurance do that. Because what we do is, like the young lady said, she says, well, I just looked and saw who takes my insurance, and then I go there. But what you end up doing is, number one, not giving the opportunity for a good person, a great doctor, to be able to see you, because doctors will see you even if you don't have insurance. They give you a cash payment amount, and oftentimes it turns out to be a lot less than you're trying to make these high deductibles that they have. These co-payments are crazy. But if you just settle on a cost, somebody might see you and it costs you $100. Well, that's $100 well spent, so that you can get the information that you need, because you're going to spend that same $100 on co-pays and all that other stuff, going around in those scrolling toilet to nowhere, and you still don't get the end result that you want. So don't allow the insurance to do that. And then one other thing when it came to insurance is, a good friend of mine, she runs primary care, her own primary care medical. She's a doctor. Well, I'm trying to think of what it is, but anyway, yeah. A doctor's office. What a concept, y'all. I got so much I want to tell you. But she has a direct primary care office. And have y'all heard of direct primary care? Do you know what that is? That's a boutique, basically. So you just pay a membership. You pay a monthly membership, whether you have insurance or you don't have insurance. You just pay a monthly membership. And I kid you not, I don't think the thing is more than $125. It's something reasonable. But you get to see the physician as many times as you want. And they don't rush you. You know, that whole thing like Miss Marie said she was doing, she sit down and she look at you face to face. That's what it is. And you can go in person or you can do it online. So those are opportunities that people have. And not only does my friend do it, but we have somebody that look like us. And you would be able to go and see her. They all do this direct primary care. It is phenomenal. And you get great care. So even if you have insurance, it's well worth the extra 100 or so bucks a month just to have somebody who will put all the pieces together. So if you are getting treated for your high blood pressure or your diabetes or your, sciatica, I'm thinking of stuff, y'all, that my neighbor said. Whatever it is, you get to put it all together and you get one physician who will listen to you. Maybe that might be helpful. Last but not least, one of the things I learned with dealing with my dad is that I don't know why they still have that drug on the market. I can just share with you personally, I had COVID and I ended up in the hospital a couple of weeks. You know, those people that have all the tubes and all that stuff, that was me. So I praise God that I was still staying. When I came out, it pushed my pre-diabetes into diabetes because they pumped me so much with. And so then they said, well, you got to get on this. I will tell you, made me hallucinate. I was like sitting here. I was not my whole person. I have my faculties, but I didn't have them with that drug. I don't know what you guys know about, but I think that somebody somewhere ought to be trying to ban that drug because it just seems to me not to be one that is actually helping people. So maybe you have a comment on that one. I don't know, but I just wanted to share all that with you.
Yeah. Let me ask you, did you share your symptom with your doctor?
I did. And you know what they did?
Yeah.
They told me that that's sort of normal. Go ahead and keep taking it.
Did you talk to the pharmacist?
I did talk to the pharmacist because my cousin is a pharmacist. And that is how I knew to stop taking it.
Dr. Johnson, did you want to add? I know we was talking a little bit about.
So briefly, I was going to say, just work with some patients. My brother's on it's a cheap medicine. It works for some patients. It helped him to lose weight, and he got his A1C down within 3 months of starting it. So it does work for some patients, and even patients with PCOS. It can help women ovulate more regularly if they're trying to conceive. They have PCOS, so it's a useful medicine. But I do understand it may not have worked for you. But that's like we said, that it's not a one size fits all thing. But yeah, that medicine has some usefulness in some patients.
I mean, let me go back again. Have you talked to your doctor?
I stopped taking it. Yeah, it only took me about a week and a half of going. I knew that wasn't for me, and so I don't take that. And I didn't need to take anything else once all those drugs got out of my system.
And a lot of patients will stop it because some patients can cause severe diarrhea, and that's usually the main thing that patients are like, no, this isn't working because I'm having accidents at work. And so it can be that bad.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I want to say that I can relate to this young lady right here because it did the same thing to me. I also want to say I'm a veteran, so all my doctors are at the facility, but you all are right that they don't listen to you. I had an accident where I thought I was young again and I was dancing and I fell and my knees separated and my leg was swollen. And so I went to the ED. I also had my diabetes. My A1C was 11.7. Mm-hmm. And they still sent me home. I had chest pains and everything. And the doctor said, oh, you don't need surgery. There's nothing wrong with your knee. I kept advocating for myself. And finally, I had an MRI, and everything, and ended up having to do surgery. Changed my diet, changed what I ate. And I had an endocrinologist that listened. The pharmacy kept putting me on. I was taking insulin 4 times a day. Plus, it was the nurse who told me that you need to stop that. They're giving you too much medication. So now It's been 3 years now. My A1C went from 11.7 and now I just took it 2 weeks ago, 6.2.
Beautiful.
I was going to say at some hospitals, good evening, everybody. They do have patient advocates. So if you are nervous or aren't quite sure on what to say or how to say certain things, ask the nurse or the patient advocate that's there. That's one. If you have a really good established relationship with the nurse, if you're in a hospital setting, ask the nurse to stay in the room with you when doctors make rounds, because that way she can or he can explain things to you. I would have patients do that, and it was very, very helpful in asking them to take notes as the doctor is saying things, so that way they can explain things to their family. Short story, I had my younger sister who was being threatened with a C-section. I was here in Florida, she was in Pennsylvania, and she said they're threatening to cut me. I got on the first flight, went to Pennsylvania, and I advocated for her. They didn't know I was a nurse at the time, but when they found out I was, they started treating things differently, right? So then when I started regulating the room and telling them what needed to be done, then there was a lot more respect there. It should not be that way. They should treat you the way that you're supposed to be treated because you're a human being, period. She would probably tell the story about what happened to her son. You need to tell. But I just wanted to say that to you guys. If you have a family member that's in the medical field, encourage them to come with you. Ask them questions. A lot of times you just need to do that for yourself. Dr. Johnson, what you talking about?
Oh, so a couple things. So I do understand what everyone is saying when they talk about these medical conditions or these episodes where you have an emergency or something and no one is listening to you, because that's exactly what happened to me. And I'm a doctor. During pregnancy, I had some complications. I ended up delivering my son in 28 weeks and he was in the NICU. And he had been there at this point for 2 months and he was getting better. He was in the step down, getting ready to go home in a couple of days. He was making his improvements, gaining weights. Great. This particular night, he would have these episodes where he just would stop breathing. And I would have to wake him up and then he would gasp and wake up. And so I told the nurse, I said, something is happening because I've been watching this little boy breathe for 2 months and something is different. Oh no, he's fine. You just have to just stimulate him. I'm like, but how long can I stand here and stimulate him? That's not normal. Can you please call the doctor? No. I'm just going to call the nurse practitioner. He's fine. And so throughout the night, he got worse. And by the end of the episode, I was like, look, he needs to be intubated again. He needs to be on a ventilator because he's struggling. And I don't know how much longer. We've been doing this for hours. Please help him. Please call the doctor. They kept ignoring me. Eventually, he went back down to the NICU and he got intubated again. When he got intubated, the doctor was like, oh, hi. And he's talking to me. And I was like, where have you been? I've been asking for you all night. He's like, they never told me that you needed me. They had been telling me, the nurses have been telling me that the doctor was busy with more complicated patients and that he didn't have time and that the nurse practitioner had the issue under control, but they never contacted him at all. And then when I would tell them I was a doctor, they would say, oh, no, she's just a resident. And I'm like, no, I'm a doctor in this hospital. I deliver babies in this hospital. But it didn't matter that I was educated. It didn't matter that both me and my husband had private insurance. It didn't matter that I was a doctor in this facility, that I was a mother who was concerned about her child. And I know if I don't know no other pediatric patient, I know this one. And none of that mattered. And I had never felt so helpless in my life. And nothing changed until I became the angry Black mom. Mm-hmm. As long as I was trying to be polite and trying to say, no, I've been watching him breathe. He doesn't do this. He's D7 to the 60s. Please help him. Can you please intubate my son? I begged them and nothing changed until I just got stupid. And that's why I say it. So when your life or your family's life is on the line, polite has to go out of the window. Mm-hmm. I don't care about polite. Fine, fire me, report me to HR. Wonderful. Save my baby. Mm-hmm. And so that's how we have to get. And I hate that I had to get to that position, but that taught me what all the news things have been saying about the socioeconomic and blah, blah, blah. I saw it personally. And none of my background mattered to that nurse. And then that day, that nurse could have cost my son his life. So that's that. He's fine now. He's 5 and he's great and he's healthy. All right. But anyway, from a women's health standpoint, since I have you beautiful, wonderful women here, I just want to give a few points. All right. Mm-hmm. So when we're talking about our health outcomes with Black women, yes, we can talk about the things that needs to be improved within the medical field, but we also have to take responsibilities for ourselves and improve our own health. because we are not eating properly. We are eating really poor quality food, and we are too heavy. And I say we because I'm thicker than I want to be, but but we are too heavy, and obesity is a major problem, especially in America, but especially in the African American population. And we have to do better because we are simply eating ourselves into early graves. Also, we are having much more aggressive colon cancers now in Black people than we ever had, but it's because of the poor quality of our food. It's not real food. So more of us need to start growing our own food. We have to move and exercise. It is, if you're a lot of jobs allow you to work from home or you're sitting at a desk, and we are simply not designed to sit down for 12 hours a day. We are supposed to move. We are designed to move. We need to move. Exercise, walk, run, do whatever you need to do, count your steps, but we have to be more active because we are simply dying too early and getting a lot of preventable diseases from just simple inactivity and poor diets. When it comes to childbirth, all women can have fertility issues. It doesn't matter if you're Black, because people think just, because I'm Black, I'm just supposed to be fertile. That's not a thing. Mm-mm. Fertility issues and issues affects all women of all varieties. But if you're thinking about starting a family, please try to optimize your health prior to, if you can. I mean, we know that half pregnancies are unplanned. And so we can always say, okay, we're going to look at a calendar. We're going to do this. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. That's not always possible. But if you have the opportunity to plan, please try to optimize your health. So if you have diabetes, make sure your A1C is below 7. If you are overweight, try to lose as much weight within reason, with, a healthy way, try to lose weight so that you don't have those, preeclampsia, high blood pressure issues during pregnancy, or have diabetes in pregnancy. So yes, try to optimize your health to improve your own and your baby's outcomes. Also, that we should talk more about family planning. I know in the church, a lot of times some people are not comfortable with the idea of birth control. And, there's medications, there are natural methods, but either way, it's still something that should be discussed, because when you're able to space out your children in a way that works for your household, it just allows for, because having a child has some financial demands. And so you can better plan out the financial health of your household, but also comes with time demands. And when it comes to taking time off work, or having time for your other children, having time for your job or for your husband, or just having time for yourself, adequate sleep, all those things, but having children affects your financial demands, your time demands. Also, when children are born sort of too close together, you don't really have the opportunity to pour into that previous child the way that you owe them. If you have a child, you owe it to that child to pour into that child, to build them up, and to really be there and be present and mold them for those formative years. And if your children if your children are very close together, you're really not giving that previous child the attention that he deserves. Mm-hmm. And so, but those are very personal issues. I'm not saying don't have children close together. Do what you want to do, but just know that these are things to consider. Mm-hmm. And each household and each family has different demands, but family planning encompasses all of those things. So proper spacing, financial planning, time away from your job, because I have a 2-year-old and 5-year-old, and the 5-year-old will be in school this year. He'll start kindergarten, but I've had a significant financial loss because I have not been able to work as much because kids just need more. And so I've had to restructure my work demands because I'm like, this is my priority. I chose to have them. And so I can't make the money that I would have made. And that's something that has to be considered. Also, childcare is very expensive. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of moms, a lot of families don't understand that for the average income earners, the cost of childcare is going to be one person's whole income. Yeah. So a lot of women just decide it doesn't even make sense for me to go to work because I'm going to spend all the money in childcare. So I might as well stay home with my own kids and save my money. And we just have to live off one income for a certain amount of time. But that's a very, that is tight. And we have to get real creative about how we're paying our bills and meeting all the demands of our lives. But family planning is very important. And also, like this one woman said, choose the right person. We have to really hold each other accountable. And we need more married women to teach younger women what to look for in a husband and what a healthy relationship looks like. Because some people just simply have not seen that, and they simply don't know what to look for. And this is not just, I'm not saying young, just like teenagers. This is some adult women who still don't know what to look for in a husband. And so just this week, I was working at the hospital. I now work in labor delivery exclusively, not in the office anymore. Anyway, so this lady, she had a baby. The guy was there through the labor. When the baby was out, He was fine. He was holding the baby. He wasn't paying attention to her. I thought it was weird, but I let it go. Some hours later, she had a hemorrhage. And so she begins to bleed, and we're doing all we can to control the bleeding. We end up having to take her to the operating room to get the bleeding under control. We come out, I tell him, and he was like, okay, cool. Was she cool? You know, he didn't seem to understand the severity of it, but he was still there. And we sent her to her room. 4 hours later, we go check on her to draw her blood, to check her blood count. And she has internal bleeding. So there's just complicated bleeding. The point is, when the bleeding got so bad to where, you know, in the middle of the night, the 4 a.m. thing, I looked up to explain to the family what was going on. He had left. He had left this lady who had delivered his child, and he knew she had severe bleeding and she needs to go to the operating room just hours before. As soon as everybody left out the room, he left, and he left her with the newborn baby, and he left her with their minor child. And we tried to call him because we needed to get consent for these things. He was nowhere to be found. So she lived. She's fine. She's safe and happy and healthy and whatever. But the next day when she came to and we explained to her what happened, I was like, and I never tell patients this, I was like, you really might have to prepare to raise this child on your own, because that man is not dependable. Anybody if you're bleeding to death and he leaves and goes home and turns his phone off overnight, he's not going to help you. You're going to be raising this child by yourself. And it was uncomfortable to tell her that, but I was like, I need you to understand this, because moving forward, I need you to understand that this is your child. You are responsible for your life and this baby. And I hope he steps up, but he may not. And I normally don't have those conversations, but I felt in that situation, if you're bleeding to death and he left, I don't know how much clearer it gets that he doesn't care about you. And so it was really sad that a fully adult woman had the situation, but we really have to be careful about who we are building families with, because your child is, first of all, they're going to, whatever characteristics they have, genetic, psychiatric, behavioral, that also goes into your child. But also, if you have this person who is not of sound mind or who does not truly understand the importance of their role, what trauma or what unfortunate things might they be exposing your child to as they grow? And so just really be mindful of the importance of choosing the right person, and really more experienced wives and mothers, please help us, to understand and, whatever we can, what to look for in a mate. And if you see us going in the wrong direction, say something. Say something. Please.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was wonderful. So now we're going to go ahead and just wrap up with our closing remarks from our love. Oh, actually, before we get into that, we actually just want to provide a thank you to our partners here today. So we have the Black Empowerment and Community Council. We have our lovely space here that we were able to host this event, Solid Rock Community Church. And last but not least, we have our third partnership with 26 Healthcare for Every Letter. Thank you so much. Alrighty, well, I hope everyone got some really good information this evening. So now we're going to go ahead and pass it to our lovely basilisk, Miss LaShonda Royal, with our closing remarks.
Can we please give the panelists and our moderators a round of applause? I don't know about y'all, but I feel like we need part 2 and 3 of this conversation. Because when you started on your TED Talk about having the right partner, I was like, that's another word on there. How we advocate. I was taking so many notes. But I want to say to everyone, I hope that you heard something that resonated with you, that you heard something that made you think, ooh, I do that. And it was so funny because I was just at my doctor's this morning and we was having that conversation about, and I was like, I don't like it. It does weird stuff to my stomach. I don't like it. I don't like being nauseous. You can punch me and I'll be okay. But nausea, And so we had that conversation and he listened. And so speaking up, being able to say that, I rehearsed that. I rehearsed telling him that I don't like that. Can I get on this? So speaking up, no longer being polite, ladies. We cannot be polite. Okay, she said we can start polite. So if you do this, prevention first, ask the questions. Even if you think it's a dumb question, ask the question anyway. And if you get an answer and you don't understand, Can you explain it to me like I'm 5? Ask the questions. Get a second opinion. I know that's very hard. I know I want to do that sometimes, and I feel like, oh, well, that's the doctor. Maybe we shouldn't. But having gone through the experience with my mother, with her knee surgery, I had her get a second opinion before they cut on her. So give the second opinion if it don't make sense, if it doesn't feel right, and be your own advocate. Tell them what you need. Tell them how you feel. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't downplay it. If you are having chest pains, don't be like, oh, my toe hurt. I'm having chest pain. So don't downplay what you're feeling. So with that, again, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. I hope again that something was said that resonates with you, that you can have these conversations with your loved ones, and that just know that your health, your total health is important. So with that, again, thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you to everyone coming tonight. I do believe there are still some refreshments.